To learn from a test lesson with Rabash, we will read from the study of 10 Sefirot, Volume 2, Part 5. We are reading item 40.
עמוד 324, דף שכ"ד, אות מ'. ואחר כך חוזר להיות...
Afterwards, the light returns to being Mati and Keter. And then both Chokhmah and Binah ascend there because of the desire they have. Then you find that there's a great distance between the sons and the light of Gar. For there are two distances between them, Binah and Chokhmah, in which there is no light. Hence, at that time, the light of Chesed rises to Binah and is called not Mate in Chesed. In that state, the vessel of Chesed turns its anterior and gives the six lights below in Gvua. We'll move to the lesson.
So, let's summarize. When we learn expanding or not expanding, expanding in Chesed, expanding in Gvua, so finally, there is a difference. If I say that Parzuf Ab, that illuminates Chokhmah, while there's a screen in the posterior, it's not called Ab, or is it called Ab? I'm asking. So there's Chokhmah in general. What is it in private? How could it descend?
So there's no Chokhmah.
That's why it's a simple answer for your question that you asked earlier.
I explained, I didn't ask. I explained.
Since when I say expanding in Keter, so there's no Chokhmah on that degree, why didn't it go below the tabu? I asked the question. If we say in Parzuf Ab, it was expanding in Keter, so there's no light of Chokhmah in the whole degree. So is that called Ab or not? Because there's no Chokhmah there. So if it's Chasadim, is it called Ab or not? That's what I'm asking. Seems so. That in general, it's phase 3. 1 and 3, 4 and 3, but it's 3. But there's a general name for Chokhmah, and there are individual cases where I say that the light of Chasadim illuminates and not Chokhmah. But it is Parzuf Ab. That's why it's called Chokhmah. Otherwise, in Binah, it wouldn't expand anymore. It's phase 3.
Meaning it would want to extend.
That's Ab, meaning phase 3 is Ab. Then we can discern whether it expands or not.
So there's no Nekudot of Sag here, so it already refined completely now?
That's why it says that the Tamim of Sag can descend, but the Nekudot couldn't. How is it called? It's not called Sagin. It's not called Ab, only Sag.
No 3?
In phase 2, there's no belonging to Ab, to Chokhmah. But what we're mentioning here from Ab is coarseness. According to what's written here, we should ask, he's saying that Parzuf Ab came out and filled the vessels of Galgalta. Don't forget, where was the coupling in the Rosh? In Parzuf Galgalta. In the Guf, there wasn't an expansion. In the Guf, there was no expansion of clothing. As we learn here, the keter of the Guf, is there expansion of phase 4 of clothing or not? In keter itself, yes.
In Tamim?
In the Tamim, the keter of the Guf, but not in the Nekudot. So when I say the Parzuf of the Tamim, so what Tamim does he mean? On the vessel of keter. We find, according to that, when I speak about Nekudot of Sag, there's already a different matter that isn't similar to this. Again, we shouldn't wait till there. So again, what is the meaning here? When the vessel of Keter expands below, called the Parzuf Ta'amim, there is phase 4 of clothing, phase 3 of coarseness, and Chokhmah. But can it illuminate more? Doesn't. Meaning, Nekudot of the vessel of Chokhmah, meaning expanding in Keter and not expanding in Chokhmah. Same thing when we speak about Parzuf Sag, we'll say the same thing. In the vessel of Keter, it's called Tamim. There's phase 3 of coarseness called Chokhmah. And in Nekudot, there is no Chokhmah. So, there the Nekudot can illuminate below the Tabul, and here it cannot. Because of phase 3 of coarseness. I want to ask about what we were asking before, earlier.
Why can't the Nekudot of Ab descend?
Oh, because it's Ab, it's a degree of Chokhmah. So also when I say that it didn't expand in Chokhmah, but on the degree of Ab, the light of Chokhmah illuminates in phase 3. But when I say that Nekudot of Sag is something else, what does that mean? That there's no phase of clothing there, also not for itself. And in phase 2, there is no Chokhmah. But in phase 3, there is Chokhmah. Just when I say that the Chasadim illuminates too, so it's also the degree of Chokhmah, because it's phase 3 of coarseness. But now, when we go deeper, we'll understand it more. So what does it mean when I say the Parzuf Ab is called phase 3 of coarseness, where there's Chokhmah? At the same time, you say that we heard that it expanded in Keter, so there is no Chokhmah on the degree. So why is it called Ab? That's why the meaning is that Ab of Chokhmah is a degree on its own right. And whether it expands or doesn't expand, the light of Chokhmah illuminates us, that's another matter. In general, the degree there is Chokhmah, and privately, the Chokhmah illuminates. It's two things, meaning the Chasadim of phase 3, also called Chokhmah. There's no words about it, but we have to know that the upper phase, called phase 3 of coarseness, is Chokhmah in general. Even when the light of Chasadim illuminates, there is Chokhmah. So when I say that the vessel of Keter is filled with Chokhmah, it's a different matter. It's a private case. But in general, the degree is called Ab. There is Chokhmah in everyone. Even though I say that it's not being used. So we have to find a difference between Parzuf Ab, called the degree of Chokhmah, even though I say that it illuminates in its posterior, which is only Chasadim. So it's also called the degree of Chokhmah. Why doesn't he explain that? If so, in Ab on its own, which is a degree of Chokhmah, there's face and posterior. Sometimes there's Chokhmah, sometimes there isn't. And even if there isn't Chokhmah, so it's still there, because it's a general degree.
They also say the opposite, that Sag illuminates Chasadim without Chokhmah. Does that mean that also?
What did I just say? We are lacking words to understand what the meaning of Ab is. Even though, for example, he comes and tells us. We'll learn that later. That Ab was the light of Chokhmah in the vessel of Keter, the light of Binah for the vessel of Chokhmah, until we find the light of Malchut in the vessel of Yesod. You remember that? So he comes and tells us, Yesod is called narrow and long. What is narrow and long? Narrow of Chasadim and long in Chokhmah. Why is there no Chasadim? Since phase 1, which we call the light of Chasadim in the illumination of Chokhmah, starts from Chesed until Yesod. So when we learn that the light of Chesed in the vessel of Binah, there's also questions about that. So we find that the light of Yesod in the vessel of Hod, we find the vessel of Hod has phase 1 of coarseness, which is Chasadim and Chokhmah. But below Hod, meaning below the light of Yesod, there is already the light of Malchut. So we find that we learn the light of Malchut in the vessel of Yesod. Malchut is called coarseness of the root. There is no Chasadim. There's only Chokhmah. So where is the Chokhmah from? From the light of Malchut. Since in Parzuf Ab he says, Ab in general is Chokhmah, we find that when I say Gvura, there's no Chasadim, there is no Chokhmah. It's also called Ab. How? Because in general, there's the general Chokhmah there. In the private instance, there isn't. So we have to understand what the general and the particular mean. In general, it's the light of Parzuf Ab. In the individual case, sometimes Chokhmah illuminates and sometimes it doesn't. But in general, there's illumination of Chokhmah. I'll tell you what he's asking. He's asking, if we're speaking of the external Parzuf Ab that raises the empty vessels or not. So I said, we speak from the external Ab, from Parzuf Ab. Where was the Rosh of Ab clothed? On the Guf of Galgalta. In the Rosh we learn that it does illuminate with the clothing, expanding or not expanding, Keter and Chokhmah. Because the whole Rosh illuminates from the Peh until the Chazeh. So how could it expand and not expand? On behalf of the Guf, that's called Yadayim V'Rosh, hands and head. So you understand the question of why?
You didn't understand it. Okay, again, I'll explain it again. We learned at the head of the degree illuminates the clothing matter. Only the expansion in the guf is only in Tamim, it illuminates in the guf. Now we say expands in the kli of Keter of Guf, of Galgalta. It expands in Chokhmah, Guf al Galgalta. Who fills them? The Rosh of Ab. And Rosh of Ab has light or not? There's light. If so, it illuminates in what vessels? Vessels of Guf. And how do I say that it doesn't expand? After all, there's a Rosh that closed this place. The Rosh should illuminate in the place of the Guf. Yes, in the Guf of Galgalta, when we say that, it fills it. But it does not give us order. It only gives us a law. He says it this way. No, that the empty vessels that remain in Partzuf, Ab, Partzuf Galgalta, as they're arranged, they move to the Partzuf Ab. If so, I'm speaking of Partzuf, the inner Partzuf Ab, and he does not speak of this, only in general. The main thing we're talking about is what Partzuf Ab took from the vessels of Galgalta to its part. Now, when he receives them, then he receives them inside as a guf or as a rosh. We should say it's the guf. They receive. If so, if I were to arrange the rosh of Ab, I need to say rosh of Ab. So rosh of Ab has everything. Only when do I start to speak that there isn't? In the expansion in the guf. This he does not speak of. He skips over that. But we need to say that Rosh of Ab, who took the vessels of the upper one, did he take it in the Rosh or in the Guf? This is also not that simple. If I want to decide, there are places where he says that both, also in the Rosh, there are vessels of the Guf of the upper one. That's how we learn. We clothe it. And there is where only the Guf clothes upon the vessels from Chazeh down. And this is where he talks about the upper Partzuf or the lower Partzuf, therefore he cannot decide between them. Did you understand the difference? Where he says that he receives to himself the vessels of the upper one, then he understands Rosh to Rosh, Guf to Guf, where he gives us how Partzuf Ab is born. In Partzuf Galgalta, he gives us an order, whereas in the Rosh illuminates. We'll learn as it's taught here. What is he telling us? Look, Zone of Keter, vessels of Guf, rose to the Rosh. When they were in the Rosh, they had Chokhmah, anterior. When they descended to the Guf, the light of Keter that was before in vessels of Galgalta and the sons below stands below in Malchut of Rosh and doesn't let it illuminate in the Parzuf of Tamim, the zone. Where's the Rosh of Ab? And what Rosh were they? When they're in the Rosh of Galgalta, they rose from there. Certainly they rose to there. And here, if I'm the opposite, who will make a distinguishment between the external Ab and the internal Ab, meaning vessels of Galgalta as for themselves, and vessels of Galgalta that moved to Parzuf Ab, lacking the Rosh of Ab? He does not speak of that there. This will be hard anyway. How does it illuminate in Rosh of Ab? Rosh of Ab clothes from her to the Guf of Galgalta, already vessels of Guf. How can we say in Rosh of Ab that there are phase 4 of clothing and phase 3 of coarseness? One more point. He says, we started in the beginning, where he says that zone of the Guf of Galgalta that rose to the Rosh. There were two couplings. One coupling was upon phase 4, only in the incorporation of phase 3. And from this emerges phase 4 of clothing. Afterwards, in the coupling, it could not descend below due to the expansion in the Guf. Hence, afterwards, there was another coupling upon phase 3 of coarseness. Only 4 was included in it, and phase 3 of coarseness, already there's an expansion in the Guf, so they descended below and clothed in the Guf. Where's the Rosh of Ab? He skipped over that. And here it means as if they descended in the Guf of Galgalta. And where was the coupling? In the Rosh. Here I would explain it this way. If we say that the Masach of Tabur of Galgalta that ascended to the Rosh, the screen of Tabur, called the screen that completes the degree, when it ascended to the Rosh, it was included from the coarseness from below upwards, in which she herself later, when Malchut of Tabur descends to the Chazeh, it has the matter of Rosh, meaning it extends the light. It's called Tabur only as far as phase 4 of coarseness. But phase 4 of clothing and phase 3 of coarseness is a new thing. It's considered now Rosh. Hence, it performs a coupling now as she descends to Chazeh in potential. Phase 4 of coarseness descended to her place to phase 3 and seemingly awaken the coarseness from below upwards, which extends the light. So I can say, just like from below upwards, it could seemingly extend light in return. As well, I can say that the phase of clothing that was illuminating in the Rosh also illuminates now in the Rosh of Ab. The same incorporation that can give Rosh, this incorporation is included in the courses from below upwards that can receive the light of clothing as well. If I were to learn Rosh and Guf, and we need to learn, it has to be this way, Rosh and Guf of Ab, we're missing here something. He doesn't give us the details, but how is the
בכלל מבחינת התלבשות שצריך לקבל ממטה למעלה. נמצא שאני אומר, כאלה דקטע, אני יכול לומר כאלה דקטע של פסוק גולגלתה, ואני יכול לומר פסוק גולגלתה עברו למי? לגיב דאפ. אבל לא כתוב, אני לא רוצה לומר מה שיכולים לומר.
נעבור לחלק הבא של השיעור.